How do you be an awesome podcast guest? I've been in the space since 2015 and I've been on numerous podcasts myself. And I want to go over today for you whether you've been on one podcast, you've never been on a podcast, or you've been on 20, 30, 40, 50 plus podcasts and you're looking to improve. I just want to share with you based on my personal experience. To kick it off, I found that to really be a good podcast guest, there's just a few simple things that you need right off the bat. One is you want to be in a quiet location. You don't want to be taking it from somewhere in your house or maybe your door is open and there's a lot of background noise. It's not going to make for a good quality interview. You want to make sure that you have a good quality podcast microphone. I use the Blue Yeti mic. I also recommend using the Blue Snowball. Anything, I believe the company's name is Audio Technica. A good quality mic can run from $50 to $150 and everywhere in between. So be in a quiet setting. Make sure you have a good quality podcast microphone. And then from there, now you're doing the interview. So how should the interview go? I really like it to be conversational as a podcast guest. There's going to be a time and place in every interview where you're going to be able to go over your company, where they can find you, where they can purchase your product or service, and book a call with you. Typically, that's going to be at the end of the interview. And I never want to bring it up right away unless the podcast host themselves brings it up and they ask me about it. I'm really there just to provide as much valuable information as I can on the podcast. And a lot of the times, that goes from sharing stories from A to B. And what I mean by that is, yes, I started in the podcasting space in 2015 to now running a podcast booking agency in 2024. How did I get from not knowing anything about podcasting to launching my own show to being a guest to now running this agency and everything in between? And that's what I like to cover when I'm going out there and being a guest on podcasts. Similar, now that I am a passive investor in real estate, when I go on real estate shows sometimes, I like to talk about how I went from not knowing anything about real estate investing to now being a passive investor currently in 4 deals, how I vetted sponsors, how I vetted deals, what I was looking at, what I liked, what I didn't like, and just take everyone through that journey. So just to be very conversational. And what I mean by that is when I ask you a question, maybe spend 2, 3, 4 minutes answering it, really nothing longer. I know for me, even being a podcast host, when I have a guest on, and they're talking for 10 or 15 minutes, it's easy to lose a little bit of interest. Me, the host, I would imagine my audience is losing it as well. So we want to just make it more of a conversation. So now you know what to do before the interview, you know what to do in the middle of the interview. And then now once the interview is over, you want to, if you haven't already done so, leave the host a 5-star review on iTunes. That's always very nice. It's always very cordial. Hosts really like to receive those 5-star reviews. Outside of that, you want to make sure that when the interview goes live, that you're sharing it out there to your email list, on your social media, let's say primarily LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever platforms you may be on, and just helping that host to promote your interview because you spent 30, 60 minutes doing this interview with them. They put in all the work on their end. And then let's say they do create social media clips for you. You just want to make sure that you're sharing them out there to your network. That way, give a little bit of a boost to that podcast host themselves. And really, between those 3 parts of it, where you have the beginning, where you haven't gone on the interview, now you're on the interview, what you should be doing, and then once the interview is over, how you should be sharing it. That's really all it takes to be an awesome guest. It really doesn't take that much. It's just maybe some practice, getting your story down, figuring out what you want to talk about. And then, yeah, that's really how you can be an awesome podcast guest.